Camden, Arkansas. Camden is a city in and the county seat of Ouachita County in the south-central part of the U.S. state of Arkansas. Located on a bluff overlooking the Ouachita River, Camden is a city rich in Civil War history. The city is located around 100 miles, 160 kilometers, from Little Rock and 50 miles, 80 kilometers, miles north of Louisiana. First known as a French trading post called Écourt aux Fabrés, its history has been closely tied to the river and it was called the Queen City of the Ouachita during the steamboat era. In 1864, Camden became the unintended focus of the Red River Campaign, a major Civil War effort resulting in several significant battles. In 2000, Camden had a population of 13,154, but it lost 7.4% of its residents and recorded 12,183 in 2010. Camden is the principal city of the Camden Micropolitan Statistical Area, which includes all of Ouachita and Calhoun counties. History. European exploration. The explorers Father Jacques Marquette and Louis Joliet in 1673 and René Robert Cavelier, Sieur de la Salle, in 1682 established French claims to the land they called Louisiana, which included what would become Camden, and found the Quapaw living at the confluence of the Arkansas and Mississippi rivers. The Quapaw claimed the territory that included this part of the Ouachita Basin, but it was also influenced by both Caddo trade and culture. The old Indian trail called the Caddo Trace, leading from the Quapaw villages on the Arkansas River to those of the Caddo on the Red River, crossed the Ouachita River at what is now Camden. French hunters, trappers, and traders, who were drawn to the area by the abundant game, later established a rendezvous point on the high bluff above the crossing. The place became known as Écourt aux Fabrés or Fabrés Bluff, later spelled Fabre. In late 1762, France ceded Louisiana to Spain. In 1782, the Spanish governor sent a Frenchman named Jean-Baptiste Filhiol, known to him as Don Juan Filhiol, to establish a civil and military post in the Ouachita district. Filhiol first chose to locate his headquarters at Écourt aux Fabrés with the expectation of creating a settlement there. After about 2 years, he decided to move downriver to the more central site of Prairie des Canates, present-day Monroe, Louisiana. These locations were noted in 1804 by the Hunter Dunbar expedition that explored the Ouachita River. Early statehood. By 1819, Jesse Bowman, of future Alamo fame, was living at Écourt aux Fabrés, while the Tate brothers Andrew, Richard, and George came up the Ouachita on keelboats. Unable to go farther, they settled upriver at a place now called Tate's Bluff. In 1824, John Nunn moved to Écourt aux Fabrés and became one of the early permanent settlers. The Nunn brothers planned to pole freight and passengers upriver toward Washington, Arkansas. Steamboats arrived at Écourt aux Fabrés in the 1820s and provided it with a direct link to the cotton and commercial markets in New Orleans. Because it was located at the head of practical navigation, Écourt aux Fabrés became a commercial center and began to grow. Residents of Hempstead County began petitioning for a new road in 1821, and by 1828, the Camden to Washington Road was having additional work and maintenance done. By 1829, a large portion of Hempstead County, including Écourt aux Fabrés, was broken off by the legislature to form an expanded Union County. In 1842, Ouachita County, named for the river, was formed from the northwest portion of Union. Écourt aux Fabrés was chosen as the county seat, and its name was changed to Camden at the suggestion of one of the commissioners, Thomas Woodward. Camden soon became the second largest city in Arkansas. It was a mercantile center and a bustling river port served by frequent scheduled steamboats carrying passengers and freight. Most traveled between Camden and New Orleans. Camden was also the headquarters for John T. Chidester's stagecoach line that served Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. Chidester's company carried the United States mail from Memphis to Fort Smith for the Butterfield stage line. American Civil War. During the Civil War, Camden was the focus of U.S. Army General Frederick Steele's Red River Campaign of 1864. Steele moved south of Little Rock toward Shreveport, Louisiana, but got only as far as Camden, which he occupied while the Confederates pulled back to defend Washington, Arkansas. Forts Lookout and Sutherland were built early in 1864, and the Camden Water Battery was built later in the same year, all to protect Camden from attack. After losing the engagement at Poison Spring and the action at Marks Mill, Steele had little choice but to retreat toward Little Rock. Camden and South Arkansas remained in Confederate hands until the end of the war. 20th century to present. Before the steamboat era faded, Camden had become a railroad town served by the main line of the St. Louis Southwestern Railroad, Cotton Belt, and by branch lines of the Missouri Pacific and the Rock Island Railroads. The town remained an important cotton shipping depot through the early decades of the 20th century. The South Arkansas oil boom of the 1920s resulted in a thriving economy. In 1927, the International Paper Company built a processing mill at Camden, following development of South Arkansas's lumber industry. For several decades, Camden was the headquarters of the Clyde E. Palmer newspaper chain, which included the Camden News, the Texarkana Gazette, the Hot Springs Sentinel Record, and the Magnolia Banner News. The daily newspaper in Camden is the original flagship publication of Weco Media. Near the end of World War II, thousands of new jobs were created with the 1944 construction of a naval ammunition depot across the Ouachita at Shumaker. The Korean War generated new jobs and activity at the depot, which closed after war's end. The city and county redeveloped its facilities and grounds into an extensive industrial area. This was the site of some major defense establishments and multiple smaller industries. A technical campus of Southern Arkansas University is also located there. In the 1990s, post-Cold War downsizing of the defense industry brought severe job losses and resulting population decline to the Camden area. The International Paper Company mill closed a few years later, resulting in more job losses. In recent years, however, a partial resurgence of defense contracts and the development of a diversified mixture of small business and professional activity have stabilized the town's economy. Geography. Camden is located on the Ouachita River, at the end of the navigable part of the river. According to the United States Census Bureau, the city has a total area of 16.5 square miles, 43 square kilometers, of which 16.5 square miles, 43 square kilometers, is land and 0.1 square miles, 0.26 square kilometers, 0.36%, is water. Climate. The climate in this area is characterized by hot summers and cool winters. According to the Köppen climate classification system, Camden has a humid subtropical climate, abbreviated CFA on climate maps. Demographics. As of the 2010 United States Census, there were 12,183 people residing in the city. The racial makeup of the city was 55.9% Black, 40.0% white, 0.3% Native American, 0.5% Asian, 0.1% Pacific Islander, 0.1% from some other race and 1.6% from two or more races. 1.6% were Hispanic or Latino of any race. As of the census of 2000, there were 13,154 people, 5,421 households, and 3,561 families residing in the city. The population density was 799.4 people per square mile, 308.7/km superscript 2. There were 6,259 housing units at an average density of 380.4 per square mile, 146.9/km superscript 2. The racial makeup of the city was 48.88% Black or African American, 49.41% white, 0.37% Asian, 0.24% Native American, 0.02% Pacific Islander, 0.20% from other races, and 0.87% from two or more races. 0.58% of the population were Hispanic or Latino of any race. There were 5,421 households, out of which 30.0% had children under the age of 18 living with them, 42.6% were married couples living together, 19.4% had a female householder with no husband present, and 34.3% were non-families. 31.5% of all households were made up of individuals, and 16.0% had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 2.36 and the average family size was 2.97. In the city, the population was spread out with 26.2% under the age of 18, 8.1% from 18 to 24, 24.6% from 25 to 44, 21.7% from 45 to 64, and 19.4% who were 65 years of age or older. The median age was 39 years. For every 100 females, there were 82.0 males. For every 100 females age 18 and over, there were 76.4 males. The median income for a household in the city was $27,814, and the median income for a family was $35,291. Males had a median income of $31,257 versus $19,046 for females. The per capita income for the city was $14,599. About 18.5% of families and 22.5% of the population were below the poverty line, including 32.0% of those under age 18 and 19.4% of those age 65 or over. Economy. Tourism. Attractions in town include the McCollum-Chidester House, home to the Ouachita County Historical Society, which served as a Union headquarters when federal troops occupied the town during the Red River Campaign. It was featured in the television series North and the South. About 10 miles, 16 kilometers, to the northwest, the site of the Battle of Poison Spring is preserved at Poison Springs Battleground State Park, one of 3 state parks commemorating the campaign. Oakland Cemetery, which is on the National Register of Historic Places, is the largest Confederate cemetery in the area. Artifacts related to 2 famous Camden products, Camark pottery and Grapette soft drinks, as well as Civil War and railroad relics, are exhibited at the Camden Visitors Center and Museum. 2 major events held in the city are the Spring Camden Daffodil Festival and Autumn BPW Barn Sale. Other area attractions include White Oak Lake State Park, the Arkansas Museum of Natural Resources at Smackover, and El Dorado. Education. Camden was once served by Camden School District and Fairview School District. In 1990 the 2 districts merged. Public education for early childhood, elementary and secondary education is available from the following school districts. Notable people.